Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. Very happy to welcome Megan Rochelle, who is a local artist who is making some big waves. Good morning, Megan.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, really interested to get to know more about you. First of all, let us get to know seriously more about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your faith walk, and how did you get to this point, Megan?
Awesome. Well, like you said, my name is Megan Rochelle. I'm 22. I've been going to church ever since I was a kid, and always just very interested in following God's path, which was hard at points. But I grew up in the church, grew up singing in the church. At the age of 8, I started singing on the main stage, and ever since then, I went to a Miller South, which was a performing arts school, and then I also went to Firestone. And just it was really after high school that I really started going towards music specifically. It's funny, I thought I was gonna head into sports, but God had a different plan. And so ever since high school, after high school, I've been really striving to do whatever God called me to do, and that led into music, which was definitely one of my favorite things to do ever. Mm-hmm. And so it's just been a blessing ever since. And now I am a Christian independent artist, and in the Akron, Ohio area, and I am in the middle of releasing my first EP.
Awesome. 8 years old, Megan. That's really something to have somebody say, hey, you 8-year-old, we want you leading worship here on the main stage. How was that? You must have had a very developed voice for that age.
You know, I laugh because I always just learn from listening to other people and doing the exact same thing, from Carrie Underwood to all of these singers. And growing up, my parents always said, we didn't really know if you could sing or not until other people started to recognize it. And I was so shy growing up. It was such a God thing. I just laughed because when I first got up there, I would just mouth the words. I would just pretend like I was singing, and they'd be like, Megan, sing louder. And I was like, I am singing. Definitely wasn't.
Yes.
And, you know, God has just grown me so much, and I'm just so honored to even see where God's brought me up until now. Mm-hmm. It is truly just an only God thing.
Do you write your own music?
I do. I've been writing, funny enough, ever since after high school. I've always been interested in music and singing and all those things, and I've done it for so long, but writing wasn't until after high school, and it was mostly because I was like, you know, maybe it's too late. But it's never too late to do what God's calling you to do. And ever since then, I've been writing, and I sang in a duo with Daniel Liebman, who is actually my manager now. And we had an EP of 5 songs, and now I have an EP for myself now of 5 songs. And I have a lot in the bank waiting to be recorded, so we'll see what God does with that.
So exciting. Daniel Liebman, awesome vocalist in his own right. Got to just throw that out there. So good. My mom was a big fan. I got to throw that in there. So tell me a little bit about your process. When do you get an idea, and does a tune come first and you come up with words? Do you think of words and then try and put them to music? Does it just all come to you while you're driving in the car and then you say, I've got to get home and write this down? How do you go as the Spirit moves you? How do you write music?
You know, every song has been so different. With Send Me, that was the first song I wrote to a beat specifically that was made by my producer, Hayden Peralt, but most of the time, you know, it just comes. A lot of my music, I always say that music, you know, it's the words you can never really speak or express. And so a lot of my songs, odd enough, have come through like 3 minutes. I'll just write it down, or like 20 minutes, and I just write it out really quick and then look at it, and afterwards I'm like, oh, where'd that come from? Wow. I've also had moments in church where I would get a whole song and I'd write it down and be like, well, Lord, if this is what you want, like, you're going to have to help me remember it. And after church, I'll just record the whole thing into my phone, and there it is. So each song's kind of different, but most of the time it's actually without any music behind it. I just kind of get the words and the melody, and then later on add the rest.
what we're going through right now has been tough on people who have been in this industry for some time, but I can't imagine for someone who's just getting started to have suddenly, no groups bigger than 10, churches meeting in an irregular way, I guess would be the way to say it. How are you navigating, and how are you and Daniel navigating through this time in history?
Absolutely. Of course, COVID has interrupted a lot of things for not just churches, but musicians and just people. We are all going through this together. But it's an awesome moment in history where, a lot of things are done online.
Right.
And so even without COVID hitting us, being online was such a focus. It needs to be a focus because now we can reach not just the people in a coffee shop or in a performance, but we can reach people all around the world. And so, we're just really trying to utilize this to our advantage in reaching people. And right now we're on YouTube and on Instagram and all of these things. And just our main goal is to just reach people. And so there's a lot of algorithms and all of those statistic things that go in with it. But we're just trying to really be intentional about kind of using it for our advantage.
Mm-hmm. Your stage just got way bigger, didn't it? You got the whole entire world instead of like a little church, reception area. You're getting to go literally to the whole world. What would be your message to other young people in this time, in the times we live? What would be your main message that you want to get out to others?
I think it's okay to not be okay at times.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to not be okay, but that doesn't mean we need to stay there. I think a lot of youth, specifically right now, I do a lot of research on just the statistics, and it's so obvious that depression and anxiety rates and all of these rates are exploding kind of right now.
Yeah.
But we need to remember that just because we feel a certain way doesn't mean it's true. And just because we feel a certain way doesn't mean we need to act on it, and that we can really make a difference here. We're supposed to be here, and we're put here for a reason. And so just because you're dealing with something, that's not the end. Sometimes that's a sign that there's something amazing that God has planned for you, because Satan surely doesn't want it to happen.
You're doing something right when you're under that much attack. I love what you just said. Just because you're feeling something doesn't mean it's true. Let's explore that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Why are our feelings so deceptive at times?
Oh my goodness, isn't that it's so true. I have struggled with anxiety ever since I was a kid. And honestly ever since I probably started thinking for myself. But I think it's just that emotions, because we feel a certain way, we believe that that's the truth.
Yeah.
And we see that not only in kids, but in adults and in the Bible times. Just so often we base our situations off of how we feel. But the heart is deceptive, and the Bible makes that very clear.
Yeah.
And I think it's our goal to remind ourselves of the truth. And maybe that's the whole point of it, is that emotions make us feel a certain way, and it's our job to remind us of the truth. And the more we feel a certain way that's not right, we have to remind ourselves. And then we're always just constantly reminding ourselves that God is good, God is with us, God is fighting this. We're not alone.
How does music help us do that?
Man, I don't know about anybody else, but I think this is pretty true for most people, is that when we hear something, it's really, I think our feelings are more easily directed than we would perceive them as primarily. I know that for me, I can be feeling a certain way and then either watch a video with music in it or listen to music or listen to a song, and it can instantly change my mood. And so I think it's a universal thing, whether it be like the beat of the song or the words themselves. I think they can just really alter the way that we see a situation or the way that we feel altogether.
Mm-hmm. You're really involved with ministry. You're beyond a contemporary Christian music artist. You've got other ministries as well. Tell me a little bit about what else you do.
Absolutely. Right now, it's kind of weird, but I say Megan Rochelle Ministries. And when I say that, it's kind of weird because in my brain, it doesn't connect with the fact that that's me. It's kind of just, in my opinion, like my business name, so I can really just reach people for Christ. That's
yes,
just what I call it. And so right now, under Megan Rochelle Ministries, we have, of course, the music aspect, but then also last year or 2 years ago, we started a ministry called Whiteout. And our main goal in Whiteout is to really create an atmosphere where the next generation can encounter God and empower them with the great news that, you know, all of our sins are whited out through Christ and what he's done for us. And it's a traveling ministry. And, of course, COVID has kind of gotten in the way of that.
Yeah.
But it's just given us more time to plan. So I'm really excited once all of this is over for what God has.
Let's dream. Let's go beyond COVID. What do you see in the future for Whiteout? And meaning that God is blotting out and making us as white as the driven snow, beyond as we all have a sinful nature, we all need a Savior.
Yeah.
What are your goals for Whiteout?
Absolutely. My goals down the road, I have some big ones, but my goals are really, I was confused on what God wanted me to do primarily. I was like, man, Whiteout or music. And God said, what about both? Which makes so much sense. And so my goals later down the road and what we're planning towards is to have kind of like a 2-day event where the first night I would sing, I would have like a show where I'd be able to show the kids and show the people what I do. And then the second night would be Whiteout, where I could really talk to them about how I got there and really make myself not just, you know, this person that people can look at and say, wow, she's always happy. Wow, she's always, you know, she's so like on a platform. Mm-hmm. But really bring myself down and say, you know, I struggle with things. I've been there. Like, I didn't believe that this was possible for me. And so then I can really bring people into realizing that there's something great in them. And just because they don't see it right now, it is totally possible. And so the 2-day event would be more youth-focused, but I'm really up for whatever God has in accordance to that.
I think today's youth, really has gripped a lot of our hearts because they have gone through something that no one's gone through in 118 years, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's or it would have been 1918, the last time there was a global pandemic, and it hit our youth while they were in high school at that critical time that you're making friends and then suddenly everything's called to a halt. Suddenly you're isolated from everyone. The only way to contact each other is social media, which can be good and it can be bad. And it just seems that today's youth is going through challenges that we haven't seen like this before.
Right.
What do you find their response to you and to your ministry and to your music? What have you learned about them?
You know, I've realized that as adults, and even like I'm 22, so I'm like right on the verge of being with them. Mm-hmm. But one thing I've noticed is, you know, we label them so often as being complacent, as being content, and being fake because of what they portray on social media. And we put all these labels on them, but what we don't realize is that we're really stopping them from becoming the people that they're supposed to be. Mm. And so I think what I've learned is just that, man, they're no different than anyone. The next generation that's coming up, they have gifts inside of them, and they need to be encouraged to use them rather than being compressed into this image that everybody is kind of putting them in a box for.
Yeah. I hope even as, you know, when this is all over, no matter what their age happens to be, I hope they get a homecoming dance and a prom. I know how silly that sounds, but I'm so sad that they're missing out on some of these important little, you know, things that you go through as you're growing up. I mean, prom, come on.
I know, maybe we should just throw a giant party.
We should. We should. I'm in, and you can perform. There we go. We're gonna do this. We need to take a short break. We'll be back with Megan Rochelle after these words. You're listening to Our Community. Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas visiting with Megan Rochelle, local artist who actually, you know what? She's on Instagram. She's on YouTube. So we're going to say, you know, she's an international Christian artist now. And but based in Akron, and we're so blessed to have you with us today, and we're so blessed to have you in our area. Talking about No Proof, let's talk about that. What is that title? What's it about? Tell me about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me again. No Proof is, oh my goodness, is one of my favorite songs because it's so much fun. When I was writing it, I always try in every single one of my songs to kind of show both sides. I think as people, as Christian songs can mostly portray a lot of the one side of the happy, the joyful, I'm found, there's victory. But my goal is always to kind of portray both sides. In the fact that it starts off with alone I lay here trying to make sense, and kind of just talking about, in my words and in my mind, the anxiety that goes on when you're trying to prove who God is. I used to think that doubting God was such a bad thing, but then I realized sometimes the doubt is the way to really build a foundational faith, because when you doubt God, you have to figure out why you feel this way, or you have to, find the answer, dig deeper. And that oftentimes leads us to a place that we wouldn't have been without that.
Wow.
And so No Proof was a fun song to kind of just to encourage people, do we need to see God to know that he's present? Do we have to see his scars to prove that he's real? Do we have to do all these things, these human senses, to prove that God is who he says he is? And this song was kind of like throughout the song, just the transgression of me realizing I don't need the things that I thought I needed. I didn't need the human senses. I just needed the proof that God has been there in the past, that God has brought me through things I never thought I would get through, and he's going to continue to do that.
I love that. It's kind of like going through your own thought process of prove he is, well, prove he isn't. It's like, can't look around us. How would you ever prove that he is not?
Amen.
This is a music video? You actually were able to produce a music video?
Yes. With each of our videos, we've released 3 songs already. We have 2 more to come. And with each of them, it was one of our main goals to produce a music video for each one. Despite the lack of resources, we did the best we could. And this was by far such a fun video to produce. It's on YouTube, but we used a white background, and we wanted the storyline to be seen in the video, and I think we did a pretty decent job. My team and I worked really hard, and it was really fun.
That's so cool. Well, tell me all about it. Tell me about the production. Tell me about the shooting and the editing of it, and tell me what went into it and what we can look forward to.
Okay, awesome. Because of the lack of resources and finances right now, I'm funding everything out of pocket, and then also between that and Patreon. And so right now we have, I've had 2 videographers who did the filming of that, and I did the directing, the editing, and then we outsourced for color correcting as well. But we had a team of, my team, I've been really blessed with a great team, and we choreographed it. We got it all figured out in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And then we filmed it in 5 hours.
Wow.
And we just really wanted it to resemble kind of like going deeper into the overthinker's mind, where we all can get, and kind of show that goodness comes out of it. It was just like a very fun, upbeat representation of the song.
And can we go to YouTube and just look up Megan Rochelle, and there you are?
Yes.
We'll see it?
Absolutely. Megan Rochelle, Megan with an H, Meghan. Megan Rochelle, and you will find all the videos. So.
You mentioned Patreon. Somebody might not be familiar with that, and we want to support you in every way we can. So tell us a little bit about Patreon and how we can participate.
Patreon, oh my goodness. The people who are financially helping me out on Patreon are just such a blessing. I definitely will not be able to do what I'm doing without them. And there's a lot more to come, but Patreon is a platform where artists and ministries can be funded through the generosity of others. And it's such an awesome place. I love Patreon because people aren't just getting the opportunity to give, but I get to give everyone something. And so you can finance from monthly from $2 to $200. And depending on how much you give, I get to give you from MP3s to T-shirts to hoodies to even a yearly opportunity to just get to have dinner together. So
Walk us through it. Do we get to Patreon through Megan Rochelle Ministries, or do we go specifically to a Patreon website? Walk us through how to be supportive.
Awesome. You can go straight to Patreon. I think the easiest way would probably be to either go to YouTube, and I have all the links that you will need there. But also I have, if you go to meganrochelle.com, there's all the information you will need. We have the link there and everything, and then you just sign up, and I even have a video to explain even more in depth what you're giving to.
Awesome. Perfect. All right, you mentioned two other songs that you've got, or two other music videos. Tell me about those.
Oh, absolutely. We have 3 songs out, so Send Me. Send Me was so much fun to film. Send Me was basically just a thank you to all of the people who risked their lives to do what they're doing during Corona, during COVID. Those who are out and doing ministry still, those who are out, firefighters, the doctors, all the policemen that are still doing what they're doing and continuing to risk their lives for the well-being of others. And that's basically what that one is about. It's very much so a thank you to all of those.
Nice.
And then we have No Proof, which we just talked about. And then Okay is coming next Friday. And that one, I wanted there to be a very realistic view of the struggles of life, but that God is in the midst of them. I always say it's not about the mountains that we're facing in life, because those are inevitable. But it's really about who is with us in those mountains, and that's God. So
it's beautiful. Do you look ahead? I know you're very busy with what you've just got on your plate right now, but do you think about maybe 5 years down the road what you might want to be doing, where you might see Megan Rochelle Ministries headed?
Absolutely. It's kind of similar to what I talked about with Whiteout, the 2-day event. That so much so, I would love to be traveling around the United States, around, wherever God really allows us to go, to have a team that is 100% financed, so that we could really just reach kids, reach people to the best of our abilities. My goal is to really become this to become my job, so that this can be the only thing I can focus on, so we can really just show people that, not only in the secular world is there excellence. God is the creator of all things. And so I'm a firm believer that the Christian world should be where the excellence roots from.
Yeah.
And so in everything we strive to be excellent. And so if we could be financed and just run everything off of a team who could really put their focus in it, that would be a goal for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. When you are stretched in so many different directions, how do you take care of you, and how do you just find that quiet time to be alone with the Lord and let Him take care of you?
Oh my goodness, that is so important. Every single morning I make sure to take 20 minutes, and 20 minutes may seem a lot for some people, it might seem like a little bit, but 20 minutes is my minimum amount to just sit with God, to sit with Him. And no matter what I have on my plate, I don't do it until I know that my Jesus time is met. And sometimes it's hard, and sometimes I get frustrated. Sometimes I don't know what to say, but I just make sure to set my alarm and to make sure I really spend time with God, because without that, we stop growing. Without that, how can we reach people and show them a place they've never been if we haven't gone there first? This
might be very, very personal, but what's He saying to you these days? What's He whispering into your ears?
Wow, that's... I'll have to think about that one for a second. I think just to keep going, because sometimes when you're looking at a situation so close, it's like looking at one puzzle piece and not seeing the whole picture. Just to remind myself to trust Him. To trust that He knows what He's doing. When I try to freak out about little things, that God really does know what He's doing, and to just look at this puzzle piece and say, you know what? If I'm going to focus on this, God will focus on the rest.
Yeah. Want to give you a chance to do a shout out to your manager before we listen to your music.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Daniel Levin is a blessing. I am just so grateful for his presence in my life. I always laugh because without him, I wouldn't be where I am. he's been the person who's believed in me even when I was too afraid to believe in myself. And it's been such a blessing. So I could not be here without him. So I love you, Daniel.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing this, and we're going to hear it right now. We're going to be hearing from Megan Rochelle. This is No Proof. Thank you so much for bringing this to our community today.
Thank you so much.
But I question if you